Sorry, can I jump in? Just because you make me want to be a detective, and you make me want to be an A&E consultant, and I definitely don't want to do what you do, Kim, so we're good. However, I just wondered, just a question. I've worked in youth services for 16 years. I just wonder how have you seen youth violence in particular grow across Bedfordshire? Has it grown? Has it not? I don't know. From your perspective, are we seeing more and more youth committing knife crime, committing violent acts? And if we are, in your opinion, because I'm sure our young people today will jump in with me in a minute and give their opinions, why do you think that is? You know? I mean, I can say from a perspective of I've worked in youth homelessness for a long time, and I absolutely have seen that it has changed significantly over the years, and there's multiple factors for that. But what are you seeing, Mr. Surgeon, who I bow to?
I think has it increased? Maybe. I mean, you'd know the figures more than me, but I mean,
You don't know the figures?
For the number of because when patients come to us.
Sorry.
You
don't know the figures. You can't know the figures.
You have to know.
I put you on spot.
No, what I was going to say was that
All right.
the thing is, what we see is only the tip of the iceberg. If you get a punch and it's just a bit of a bruise on your arm, you tend not to go to A&E with it. So I can't tell you whether the general number of assaults on the street are increasing, decreasing, whatever. What I can tell you is that we do see a lot of knife and serious assaults in the Luton area. We do. Is it increasing? Maybe. It's changing in the way people go about injuring themselves. Do I have any thoughts on why it's happening? Well, I don't know. I'll tell you what happened. My 14-year-old boy a couple of months ago dropped his phone and broke it. Now, if I did that with my phone, that's it, phone over, end of story. It's like, oh, Dad, can I have another phone? So in my feelings about this now is a lot of society is a lot of it's throwaway. You just replace it. I broke my phone, I get a new one. I mean, crikey, Bob, you just can't do that with life. It's the most precious thing we've got. If you break your phone, you can get a new one, but you know what? Far better off looking after the phone you've already got.
But if you get stabbed and all of a sudden
it's
you've got a
lights out.
Time of, I don't know, you've got an injury that is there for life.
It's just
a whole different ballgame, isn't it?
Like, you need to value the right things, I guess. I mean, that's just me. I'm a middle-aged white duffer. What do I know?
Don't say that.
That was a bit of a giveaway.
Speak for yourself, that's all I've got to say to that.
But yeah, that's just. I just think if people valued things, maybe then that value would stretch to everything in life, not just your mobile phone or whatever it might be.
I think there's also a little bit more to add to that as well. When we talked about being desensitised, whether or not we're desensitised at all, I think there is something about young people. So equally, I've worked with them for as long as you say, if not a bit more, about young people being desensitised to things, and it comes back to that mobile phone and that social media. Yeah. Back in my day, showing my age, if you saw a horror movie, that's the only time you'd see the blood and the gore and what have you. Now, young people are seeing social media. They're seeing stabbings, they're seeing it hot off the press, they're becoming desensitised to it. So, for example, you may see someone being stabbed in Manchester. Once you, as a young person, discover that it's not Luton, you get on with your day because it's not somebody that you know. So it's very different to me growing up, I would say. There's more access to seeing these things and then perhaps dismissing them. But in terms of increasing violence, what I would say is that I go back to my remit, which is the causes of the causes. I think that there's this real misunderstanding as to what violence is. I think we need to delve a little bit more. We talk about knife crime and county lines and bits and pieces, but we've got to understand. We've got to think: why are our young people being so violent with each other? You know, why is it okay to multiply stab someone and not to be impacted by that? And yes, I've talked about social media, but there's a lot more to it. There's a lot of anger out there. It could be what we call ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. So there are things that are going on in young people's life. It could be, Elaine, the way that us as practitioners are dealing with it. Yeah. Maybe we need to, do a bit of self-reflection. Yeah. Maybe within the education system, that we're being dismissive of some of the trauma the emotional trauma that our young people are coming in with, and perhaps when we see that manifest in the school playground, it's deemed as violence on there. But, but what does that mean? Could it be that someone's come to school for however many times without breakfast? Could it be that their parent hasn't come home? Could it be that there is domestic violence there? And these aren't excuses, but I think that there's a better way to look at, the underbelly of where this violence comes from, as opposed to maybe focus on this increase
us as
narrative.
Community practitioners may recognise that, the likes of you and I and the guys at Jamrock, but potentially, I don't know what you guys, young ones think, maybe it's not so recognisable for those that are not maybe connected to us in terms of what we do in our services. So young people that are in mainstream education that maybe don't come into contact with the likes of you and I, maybe it's more maybe the difficulty sometimes is they're not being picked up, because actually it's not all about disadvantaged groups, which is what I've found, that are committing or getting involved in things. It's anyone, doesn't matter where you are, what you come from, what you look like.
It's about
an
fitting
open
in.
door for anyone, isn't it?
It's about fitting in, and that's what Sheldon said on our last interview.
It's belonging.
Yeah, it's a sense of belonging, and that's what we touched on before. So it's not, like he said, sometimes it's not because you didn't get breakfast or because X, Y, Z. Obviously, some of them reasons can be that, but it can just be, because I didn't have a group of friends, or I was picked on at school, bullying, things like that can be a trigger offence, them kind of things as well. But also, sorry, Kim, off the back of what you said, I wanted to kind of touch on something with you, Liz. Reoffenders.
Yep.
With regards to reoffending and stuff, what support is in place for reoffenders? Because I feel like, as we were saying, if your mum's constantly not able to put food on the table, not to say that gives you the right to go out and stab somebody, because it doesn't, and like we said, no excuses, but what is in place for reoffenders? Because I feel like there's a time where a reoffender just pops up and it's like, hey, cool, they're back again. Thrown in the cell, lock them away. I don't personally feel like there's no real chance there.
Can I just add to that as well? Just bringing that into where we are in Luton, for example.
Yeah.
I think you guys will probably have a number of people in your emails that are complete reoffenders, and they are the same people that probably are driving those numbers in terms of knife crime. Just to add on to that, what's actually being done?
Yeah.
For them not to reoffend, or for them to be taken away, rather than giving them an ASBO away from Luton, they're just going to do the crime elsewhere. What's actually...
So, in terms of rehabilitation, we're talking around here. Question: does prison work? That's sort of a question that's regularly asked. Does prison work, or does prison become somewhere where you actually go in there and you learn more than you knew before in relation to criminality, who you're in there with? What are the programs that prisons, for example, if we're talking about people that are going into custody, what do prisons offer? And a lot of it does come down, I think, I'm not getting political, but it does come down to funding and what is available around it. But you're right, what we need, I think, to do, and this is where I think it's so great to work alongside, the Vero, is around, for me, it's about early intervention, because it's about revolving doors, is what I call it. So I see people in police custody who I arrested their fathers, right? So you've got generational things.
Wow.
That happens. So, but what are we doing about it? And what we can't do, and I think this is said by lots of people, it's kind of, and I'm not using it as a buzzword, but we cannot as police arrest our way out of these longer term problems. We have to do it in partnership, not just with health, but with youth offending service. We have to use all our parts. We have to do it with the community. We have to do it with young people. What's the way forward to do this? And I think in this county at the moment, we have got a fantastic opportunity with the Vero, because it's different. It's not police-led. And I think sometimes it all comes down to police. So what are we, policing, doing about rehabilitation and reoffending rates? Actually, our job tends to be when someone then commits a further crime, rather than that training or those opportunities that are given to people when they come out. So if you come out of prison, what is there for you? What education, what job opportunities are there? And that is around all of our services working together. So I think that's where it links in,
Yeah,
isn't
I
it?
mean, most definitely the answer could be the very. And that's why these violent reduction units were set up. The idea is that we work in partnership with existing services that are out there, and there are some really good services out there. But we also recognise, I think, more or less what you were saying, Liz, that it can't be just one person. You know, so this has to be a multi-agency approach. We need the police to be involved, we need education to be involved, health, we need local authorities to be involved, and the Veru offers us that opportunity to bring all those services together, but also to look at what I think you've highlighted there, the gaps. You know, we have to be brave enough to say that there are gaps. We are seeing the same sort of young people come back in to the service, and then we have to understand why that's happening. You know, why are they coming back into the service? Early intervention is great, so we should be catching, you know, young people younger and having these conversations with them. But also we shouldn't miss the opportunity to talk to young people who themselves have been presented time and time again into the service, and just listen, you know, just listen, just change the narrative.